Hello, how are you? Hello, welcome. How are you doing? ¿Qué tal estás? How are you doing? Curioso. La expresión how do you do is very formal. ¿Cómo está usted? Mucho gusto. How do you do? How do you do? But how are you is ¿cómo estás? Now, how are you doing? Añadiendo doing. Literalmente, ¿cómo estás haciendo? Que no tiene sentido en castellano, pero en inglés tiene mucho sentido. Porque es nuestra forma de decir ¿qué tal? It's very familiar. How you doing? How are you doing? Welcome to a new English class, okay? Now today is a special day. Today is a very special day because for the first time in this collection of programs, I'm going to use the famous translation booklets that my company uses all the time to teach English. I'm going to start with list number 9, not with list number 1, from book A, the first book. And I'm not starting with list number 1 because I think you have seen me already 15 times for beginners. So really, this is lesson number 16, I think. It's not my decision, but our director here is list number 16, or class number 16. So, I will start with list 9, and I think you can do it. It's very easy. Shall we begin? Empezamos? Shall we begin? It's in English. In Spanish, you use the present tense. Empezamos todos los días a las 7. We begin every day at 7 o'clock. Empezamos a las 7 o las 9 todos los días. No me acuerdo. Do we begin at 7 or at 9? I don't remember. But the expression, empezamos, using the present tense in interrogative style in Spanish is how I'm looking for your agreement. Shall we begin? Shall we start? In English. In Spanish, empezamos. Abro la ventana un poco. Shall I open the window a little? Nos vamos. Shall we go? For example, if you're having lunch with another person and you eat the first course, you eat the second course, you eat your dessert, and then you have a coffee, and then you have a cognac or a brandy. And finally, after a nice 2 hours of conversation, you say, well, Pedro, shall we go? Nos vamos? And Pedro responds, yes, let's go, let's go. Nos vamos? Sí, vámonos. Shall we go? Let's go. Now, shall we begin? Yeah, let's begin. Okay. ¿De dónde son ellos? Where are they from? Where are they from? Where are you from? Where am I from? We have two expressions for this idea. Some people say, where are you from? Other people say, where do you come from? I don't know the difference. Aunque, when people ask me here in Spain, Clovey, what's the difference between where are you from and where do you come from? And I think, and this is for many years, and finally, I decided to give them an answer because my Spanish students like to know the difference, exact difference between one thing and another. And I say, okay, where are you from is something you often say to foreigners. Where do you come from is something you often say to strangers. For example, in the Old West, in Texas, I'm from Texas. Let's go back 150 years to Texas when I'm wearing my revolvers, okay? And I walk into the saloon, open the doors, and I walk in, a whiskey please. And next to me, there's another man slowly drinking a whiskey. Say, good morning. And he says, good morning, in a strange accent. And I said, where are you from? Because I know this person is not from the United States, because the accent is a foreign accent. Now, where are you from? Okay, now, rewind, rebobinar. And I walk into the saloon, walk up to the bar. Whiskey, please. I get a whiskey. And next to me, there's a man. And that man I have never seen in this town. Okay? And we're talking. And I hear that he has a similar accent to me, so probably he's from Texas, or maybe Oklahoma, or maybe New Mexico. And I say, where do you come from? Okay, probably. But you see, for me, there's no difference between the two expressions. But because my Spanish students love knowing the exact difference, I create a difference. I don't know if in England it's the same or in Ireland it's the same. But in any case, I recommend where are you from? Because it's more standard and it's only 4 words. Where do you come from are 5 words. So let's be efficient in English. Where are you from? ¿De dónde son ellos? Where are they from? ¿De dónde soy yo? Where am I? Am I? Fijaos cómo uso la M de trampolín. Am I? Como el nombre de mujer. Amaya. Am I? Where am I? Where am I from? I'm from the United States. All right? Where is the president of Spain from? The current president of Spain, I think, is from León. Where is the president of Catalunya from? Well, he's from Barcelona. Okay, where are you from? Somos de Estados Unidos. We're from the United States. ¿De dónde sois? Where are you from? We are from the United States. We're from the States. There's several ways to say Estados Unidos. The United States, siempre con the, ojo. The United States, the States, the US, or the USA. Normally we say, I personally say I'm from the States. What part of the States are you from? I'm from Idaho. And what part of the States are you from? I'm from Oregon. And you, what part of the States are you from? Me? I'm from South Carolina. South Carolina. Is that the state that is south of North Carolina? That's true. And you, what part of the States are you from? I'm from North Dakota. Is that the state that's north of South Dakota? That's right. And you, what part of the States are you from? I'm from West Virginia. Is that the states that's west of East Virginia? No. There isn't an East Virginia in the United States. Just Virginia. And another small section, cut in a different state, West Virginia. So, we're from the States. Nosotros somos. We're from we're. Contracción, we are. We're. Like the verb to hear, con W al principio. We're. Okay? Tear, lágrima, we're. Okay? We're here, tear. Okay. So, somos tus amigos. We're your friends. Your friends. We are your. Spanish people pronounce it your. No, your. Okay? Your. For example, Europa, Europe. The continent of Europe. Imagine my up, his up, her up, and Europe. Okay? For the pronunciation. Tengo un arriba en el bolsillo. I have an up in my pocket. It's my up. It's not Europe. He has an up, not a down. He has an up in his pocket too. It's his up. It's not the same as Europe. Okay? Europe is the exact pronunciation of Europa in English. Like el euro, the coin, or the currency, la moneda europea, is, for most countries in Europe, the currency is the euro. Spanish people have problems pronouncing the word euro correctly. So, similar to Europe being my up, his up, her up, Europe, well, think of an O. The letter O. I have an O in my pocket. This is my O. My O. His O is on the floor. And euro? Where's euro? And that's the perfect pronunciation of euro in English. Euro. How many euros do you have in your pocket now? How many euros do you have in your wallet? In which the men keep in their back pocket usually. How many euros? Okay. We're your friends. We are. Somos tus amigos. We're your friends. Somos amigos tuyos. We are friends of yours. Yours. Fijaos en la Y. ¿Cómo la pronuncio? Es como una I latina. Your. Spanish people, you have problems with the Y. You convert the Y into an English J. Jur. Jew. You are. No, you are. You are yellow. You are jello. Jello is gelatina. It's something people eat for dessert. And sometimes people say, I am jello. Yo no soy. For example, the Y. Yesterday, year, you, youth, yellow. Eres amarillo. You're yellow. You're yellow. You're yellow. Okay? I'm not yellow. You're yellow. Okay? The pronunciation. Now, we are friends of yours. Somos amigos tuyos. I'm a friend of yours. He's a friend of yours. She's a friend of yours. And I'm a friend of yours. We are, o contracción, we're friends of yours. So don't worry. You have a lot of friends. Are you a friend of mine? Are you a friend of mine? Are you a friend of hers? Are you a friend of theirs? Are you a friend of ours? Eres amigo nuestro. It's interesting. In English, we use the possessive pronoun. Mine, his, hers, yours, ours, theirs, preceded by of. Un amigo mío, a friend of mine. A friend of mine. Un amigo de Peter, or de Pedro, we say a friend of Peter's. We add an apostrophe S. It doesn't sound bad to say, you are a friend of Peter, or you are a friend of Mr. Johnson. But that's not correct. You are a friend of Peter's, or you are a friend of Mr. Johnson's, because we're using possessive forms, possessive pronouns. If I say, I am a friend of Peter, in essence, I'm saying I am a friend of him. Or I am a friend of you. Okay, which is not correct. Or you are a friend of me. And that's not correct. You are a friend of mine. Therefore, por lo tanto, you are a friend of Peter's. You're a friend of Mr. Johnson's. Okay? So, let's go on. Somos de Gran Bretaña. We are from Great Britain. Great Britain is an island. It's an island that includes England, Scotland, and Wales, Gales. If you add Northern Ireland, it's not Great Britain anymore. It's the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom. The UK. The UK. The US. I'm from the US, and the director of this program is from the UK. The, always. Okay. ¿Estamos listos? We are ready. ¿Somos listos? We're clever. It's interesting. The word listo in Spanish has two meanings depending on which verb, ser o estar, you use. Soy listo. I'm clever. Estoy listo. I'm ready. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Are you willing? Willing. It means dispuesto. I'm not willing. It means no estoy dispuesto. It comes from the word will. Will, W-I-L-L, means voluntad. For example, if God tells me I'm going to die next week, I will go to a lawyer and say, I need to prepare my last will and testament. But normally I would prepare my will, because it's mi voluntad última, my will. Free will is libre albedrío, as opposed to determinism. Do we have free will, or is everything determined? That's your problem. I don't know. Will. It's also the future. Tomorrow I will go. Okay. Will. It's interesting. What is the origin of the word will as the future tense? He will go, he will call me, they will come, etc. Maybe it meant originally, I will go. It is my will to go. Yo voluntad ir. Maybe, but I'm not sure. But willing is dispuesto. I'm willing. but I'm not ready. There's a difference. Sometimes people think, estoy dispuesto a matarle. I'm willing to kill him, but I'm not ready because I don't have my gun. Do you understand? But I'm willing to do it. All right. Estamos listos. We're ready. Are you ready? Is he ready? Is she ready? Are we ready? Are they ready? Are you ready? Esas manzanas son verdes. Those apples are green. I think, I'm not sure, my Spanish is not perfect, but I think in this case you can use ser or estar in Spanish. If you say, esas manzanas son verdes, that means the apples are of the color green, as opposed to red apples. You have red apples, green apples. But if you say, esas manzanas están verdes, it means they are not ripe yet. They're still green, hard. Ripe, escrito ripe, is for fruits and vegetables, what we say mature for people. A person who is mature is una persona madura. But una fruta madura is ripe. R-I-P-E. Ripe. Ripe. But esas manzanas son verdes. Those apples are green. Question. Are those, fijaos en la pronunciación, la TH, those es un ceceo español, those, activando las cuerdas vocales al mismo tiempo. Those. Are those apples green? Yes, they are. Or no, they're not. Or no, they aren't. They aren't green. They're red. Do you prefer red apples or green apples? Here in Spain, I prefer green apples. And how often do you eat an apple? In English, we have an expression, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Una manzana al día mantiene alejado al médico porque no hace falta. But we never say that 2 apples a day keep 2 doctors away, because I don't think it's true, okay? An apple a day. But if you don't like doctors, perhaps the best thing to do is to eat apples. Because if you eat 10 apples a day, 10 doctors stay away from you, okay? Who knows? All right. Los documentos están listos. The documents. Fijaos en la pronunciación. Casi como una A en español. Docu. Podemos cerrar más. Documents. Q. Pero lo importante es Q. We never say document. That sounds a little primitive in English. Documents. Están listos. The documents are ready. Documents. Los precios son diferentes. The prices are different. This book has one price, and this book has another price. This book is more expensive than this one. This book has 1,500 sentences in Spanish and in English, 50 per page. This book has only 25 sentences per page and 750 sentences in the book. Both books are very good. But this one is more expensive than this one, because this one has double the information than this one. This one has 2 CDs for this, to listen to the English, and this one has only 1. But both of them are good. And this one is more expensive than this one. This one is less expensive than this one. This one is cheaper than this one. I prefer to say less expensive or inexpensive. For example, this collection for English, this course, is not expensive. It's inexpensive. If I say it's cheap, sometimes it gives the connotation of poor quality. That's a cheap car. Es un coche barato. The word cheap in English can sometimes make a person think that the quality is low. Inexpensive? No. That car is my new car is very inexpensive. It's very economical. Okay, economical with an L at the end, not economic. Economic refers to the economy. Economical is simply the opposite of expensive. All right. So, I think we have time for one more. Sus ojos son azules. De ella. Sus ojos son azules. Her eyes. Her, not hair. Spanish people say her eyes. Hair is this. This is my hair. Su pelo, de ella. Her hair. her eyes, her hair, her nose, her lips. Her eyes are blue. Her eyes are brown. Okay. It's nice to stop a class with eyes, okay? What color are your eyes? And my eyes? Are my eyes blue or green? Well, for the next class, perhaps. We'll talk about that. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to another English class. Today we are going to continue working on translation lists. Inverse translation. It's very, very good. Very, very good. Ponlo en la mesa. Put it on the table. Mételo en el bolsillo. Put it into your pocket. Sácalo. Take it out. Mételo. Put it back in. Mételo de nuevo. Vamos. Insértelo back. Put it back in. Vuelve a sacarlo. Take it back out. Put it back in. Take out. Put in. Take it out. Put in. Take it back out. Put it back in. Put it behind your ear. Put it on the table. Give it to me. Drop it on the floor. Drop it. Pick it up, please. Okay. Recógelo. Pick it up. Déjalo caer. Drop it. Sácalo del bolsillo. Take it out of your pocket. When I say sentences in Spanish, I want you to respond like lightning, como un relámpago, like lightning in English. Are you ready? This is not very difficult. If you look at this book, you say, esto me lo sé todo. ¿Esto es el libro 2? Deme un libro 3. Esto me lo sé todo. That's very common. I remember 2 years ago, I was in the shop of Vaughan Systems, the Vaughan tienda, and I was talking with somebody, but I could hear a customer talking with one of the employees, interested in buying some material to improve his English. And I remember perfectly, the young lady gave the man book 2 for intermediate level. And he looked at it and says, He said, esto me lo sé todo. ¿Tiene usted el libro 3? And she said, yes. And she gave him book 3. And he opened it and looked. Pero esto no es difícil, esto también me lo sé. ¿Tiene algo más? And when I heard that, I got book number 1, book A, for beginners, this one, for beginners, and said, excuse me, sir, let's try something. And I asked him 3 questions in Spanish. I said, ¿Dónde vive tu hermana? And he says, and the man said, where lives your sister? I said, no. Where your sister lives? No, I need an auxiliary verb. Where does live your sister? I said, no. Where does your sister live? Por supuesto, ya lo sabía. And he was a bit embarrassed. Un poco violento, apurado. Because a simple sentence like, ¿Dónde vive tu hermana? He was unable to give me a correct answer. He needed 4 times. And the next sentence was, ¿Dónde vive tu hermana? He says, it was, tu hermana fuma. I remember now. He says, smokes your sister? And I said, no. Does your sister smokes? Excuse me? Does your sister smokes? No. Does your sister smoke? And finally, yes. I said, excuse me, sir, but I think you need to start with book number 1 for beginners. He said, but I am not a beginner. I said, well, in question of grammatical oral manipulation and oral agility with the grammar, you are años luz from being an intermediate. You need to go back. Cuida primero el corazón y la aorta y luego los capilares, okay? First, your heart, your aorta, the main system, and then you can worry about the capillaries, okay? And it's the same here, all right? These lists are excellent for improving. And let's start with list number 1, book 2. Very easy. Lo haré cuando pueda. En español utilizáis el subjuntivo pueda. En inglés no, cuando puedo. I'll do it when I can. It's very easy, I'll do it when I can. Le veré en cuanto pueda. Ahora he dicho en cuanto. I'll see him as soon as I can. O sea, tan pronto como pueda. I'll see him as soon as I can. I'll see him as soon as I can. ¿Cuándo estarán aquí? When will they be here? I don't know when they'll be here. Do you know when they will be here? Do you know when they'll be here? Do you know when he'll be here? Do you know when she'll be here? I don't know when they'll be here. ¿Cuándo estarán aquí? When will they? Will va primero en la pregunta directa, pero solo en la pregunta directa. When will they be here? Solo en la pregunta directa se usa auxiliar o se pone el verbo primero. For example, ¿Quieres? What time is it? Is va delante it. Excuse me, what time is it? Yo no sé qué hora es. I don't know what time it is. Okay? Because the person answering the question is not speaking in interrogative. He is speaking in negative or affirmative. Excuse me, where does Peter live? I don't know where Peter lives. You see in the answer, it's in the negative, I don't know. But the rest of the sentence is affirmative style. You cannot say in English, I don't know where does Peter live. ¿Sabes dónde vive Paula? Do you know where Paula lives? Now this is a question. But we don't say, do you know where does Paula live? We say, do you know where Paula lives? Do you know what time it is? Do you know if Claire would like to be a millionaire? Do you know where you are now? Do you know where I am? I'm recording this television show in a special place. Do you know where I am? I am, not am I. Ahora, si yo digo, ¿dónde estoy? ¿Qué es esto? Where am I? Peter, where am I? I don't know where I am. Do you know where I am? Okay. Do you know what time it is? Do you know where Pepe lives? Okay. No tengo ni idea. I have no idea. I have no idea. Very important expression because it's used all the time. There are two basic ways to say in English, no tengo ni idea. One is, I have no idea. And the other is, I haven't got a clue. Ni una pista ni indicio. Clue como clue escrito. Como el juego aquí de mesa, Cluedo. Cluedo es de buscar pistas para un crimen. Clue. I haven't got. Y solemos usar haven't got aquí en vez de I don't have. I haven't got a clue. I have no idea. Okay. I don't have any idea is correct as well. But it's a frase hecha. It's an expression. And we usually say, I have no idea. Okay. ¿Cuándo estarán aquí? When will they be here? When will they? When will they be here? I have no idea. Ni idea. I have no idea. Vendrán. ¿No sabes cuándo vienen? Don't you know when they're coming? O cuándo van a venir? Don't you know when they're coming? Don't you know? Curiosa forma de pronunciar. La T de don't, cuando se enlaza con Y después, como you, se oye un sonido de chu. Don't you know? Don't you? Don't you, don't you, don't you? Don't you know when they are coming? Claro que sí, vendrán cuando yo les llame. They'll come when I call them. They'll come when I phone them. They'll come when I ring them. They'll come when I call them up. They'll come when I ring them up. You can add up to call and ring, and it's correct. Not to phone, I think. At least not in my country. To phone them up? Yeah, maybe. But they'll come when I call them. Olvidémonos de up. Let's not complicate English too much. Because call is, or ring, or phone are perfectly correct. We don't need to add up. Okay, the word up. Vendrán cuando les llame yo. They'll come, they will. They'll come when I call them. Okay. ¿Y cuándo les vas a llamar? When are you going to call them? Truco aquí. Let me tell you a secret about English and about Spanish too. It's the same. When I came to Spain, the first time in my life, my Spanish was not very good. Theoretically, yes, but in practice, no. And I learned, I knew perfectly that voy a ir, voy a abrir, etc. was I'm going to. I'm going to put the book on the table. Okay. I'm going to put my pen in my pocket. See? I'm going to take my pen out of my pocket. Watch. I'm going to do it. Te lo prometo lo que voy a hacer. I'm going to take my pen out of my pocket. See? I'm going to put it on the table. I'm going to. That's future. It can be immediate future. Right now, I'm going to do this. Or it can be distant future. Next year, I'm going to, or when I reach the age of 70, I'm going to retire. Okay, voy a jubilarme a los 70, for example. When I reach the age of 70, I'm going to retire. Now, if you just learn, I'm going to, and then you learn all the possible verbs that you can memorize, then you can speak beautiful English in the future tense. At least it's very easy. I'm going to put, I'm going to open, I'm going to read, I'm going to take off, I'm going to put on, I'm going to roll down, I'm going to roll up, I'm going to touch, I'm going to speak, I'm going to see, I'm going to smell, I'm going to stretch. Okay, just with I'm going to. And then you can speak about yourself in the future with hundreds of verbs. And about him, he's going to, she's going to, we're going to, you're going to, they are going to. And it's the same in English, in Spanish, excuse me. When I came to Spain, instantly, voy a jugar, voy a ir, voy a ver, voy a tocar, voy a levantar. Okay? And it was very easy to learn Spanish in the future. Él va a levantar, él va a cerrar, él va a escribir, él va a leer, él va a corregir. It's very easy. So remember, the future with going to is the easiest tense in the language. Okay. I've lost my place. Vendrán cuando yo les llame. I'll call them, or they'll come when I call them. ¿Y cuándo vas a llamarles? When are you going to call them? When are you going to call them? Les llamaré cuando tenga tiempo, ¿vale? I'll call them when I have time, okay? Siempre hago yo la contracción cuando hablo. I'll call them, I'll call them when I have time. En español decís cuando tenga tiempo, subjuntivo. En inglés, indicativo, cuando tengo tiempo. I'll call them when I have time. ¿Y no tienes tiempo ahora? Don't you have time now? Don't you have time now? Por supuesto que sí. Of course I do. Okay? Of course is por supuesto. Of course. Of course. And then in Spanish, you have the expression por supuesto que no, por supuesto que sí. Desde luego que sí, for example. Now, in English, we don't say of course yes or of course no. We say the subject, in this case I, plus the auxiliary verb. Do you like flowers? Por supuesto que me gustan las flores. Do you like flowers? Yes, I do. Do you love your wife? Of course I do. Did you speak to Mr. Jones yesterday? Of course I did. Would you like to be a millionaire? Of course I would. ¿Quién no? Who wouldn't? Siempre jugamos con verbos auxiliares donde vosotros decís sí o no, normalmente. Por supuesto que sí, of course I would. ¿Te gustaría ser millonario? Por supuesto que sí. Would you like to be a millionaire? Of course I would. You wouldn't like to go to prison, right? Of course I wouldn't. You don't like to eat, you don't like to eat paper, do you? Well, of course I don't. It depends. If I had to choose between eating, how do you say in English, sugar-coated fruit escarchada, or eating this paper, I think I would eat the paper. Really. If a person had a gun, said, Clovey, you eat that fruit, or you eat the page list number 1, I'll probably eat list number 1. But, of course I do. ¿Cuándo les vas a llamar? When are you going to call them? Les llamaré cuando tenga tiempo. I'll call them when I have time. ¿Y no tienes tiempo ahora? Don't you have time now? Of course I do. Entonces, ¿por qué no lo haces? Then, why don't you do it? Come on. Why don't you do it? Vale. Lo haré. Okay. All right. Okay, I'll do it. Lo haré. Okay? Does that make you happy? I'll do it. Les visitaremos mañana por la mañana. We'll visit them. Visit con V. We'll visit them tomorrow morning. Él estará aquí un poco más tarde. He'll be here. He will. Contracción he'll. It sounds exactly the same as el tacón de zapato, heel, or el talón de la anatomía, heel. Encima del tacón, dentro tengo mi talón. Above the heel of my shoe, inside the shoe is my heel. Okay, heel. All right, heel. Some women like to wear high heels. I've only worn high heels once in my life. And I was playing in my mother's bedroom, my parents' bedroom, when I was 6 years old, probably. I put on a dress and I put on my mother's high heels. Okay. Since then, I think I haven't. But nevertheless, heel is tacón o talón del pie, the heel. Achilles' heel, el talón de Aquiles. A very famous Greek mythological character, mythological and legendary character, Achilles, who died in Troy because he had one vulnerable point on his body. Only one. His heel. Why? Because when Achilles was born, the gods told Achilles' mother to put him in the river Styx, a special river with special qualities. And every point of his body that the water touched would be invulnerable. He could not die. And so the mother took him to the river, and she held him by one of his heels, and she put him into the water, under the water, like that, and took him out. But that part that she was holding by his heel didn't touch the water. So that was the only vulnerable part of his body. And when he went with Agamemnon, Menelaus, and Ulysses to Troy with the Greek armies, they spent 10 years fighting. The person who had sequestered Helen, who had kidnapped Helen and taken her to Troy, his name was Paris. And the goddess Aphrodite, she told him, listen, Achilles has one vulnerable point. He said, what? His heel, his right heel. And so Paris took out his and shot an arrow into Achilles' heel, and he died. Okay? Heel. And that's the contraction of he will. So, that's a long story to return to the list. Él estará aquí un poco más tarde. He'll be here a little later. Okay? He'll be here a little later. Not now, but a little later. Maybe in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, a little later. ¿Por qué no vuelves a llamarle? Why don't you call him back? To call is llamar. Llamar de nuevo, o otra vez volver a llamar, is to call back. Sometimes if you really need to speak to somebody, you call the person. Oh, he's not there. But then you call back. And then you call back again. Call back again. That's redundant. Call back is volver a llamar. But to call back again is repetitive. Volver a llamar de nuevo. But we say it all the time. First you call back, and he's not there. Then you call back again. You call back again, or you ring back. All right? You call them back. All right. One more. There's only time for one more. Me harán muchas preguntas. Me harán muchas preguntas. Escuchad con mucha atención, por favor. Me harán muchas preguntas. I'm using the verb hacer in Spanish. Now listen. Me harán muchas preguntas. Will they ask me a lot of questions? En inglés preguntamos cuestiones, no hacemos preguntas. Ask me a question. Hazme una pregunta. Lo que quieras. Ask me a question. What's your question? Ask me the question louder. Is this the end of the class? Yeah, good question. Yeah, it's the end of the class. So it's time for me to say goodbye. Take care. Study. Okay? And I will see you again in the next class. Bye-bye now. Are you there? Hello? Are you ready for your... Are you there? Okay. My name is Cloverdale. I think you're there. I can't see you very well. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me okay? Can you see the things behind me? Can you? Notice, fijaos. Notice that I'm using can all the time. All right? In Spanish, often you don't. If you go to the cinema with another person, and you're sitting in row number 13, and a person walks into row number 12 and sits directly in front of your friend, and the person has a lot of hair, you say, hey, can you see okay? Can you see the screen? In Spanish, you usually say, ¿ves? ¿Ves bien? You say, do you see well? And if you say to a person, do you see? So what do you mean, do I see? I'm not blind. Okay? So in English, we always use can. ¿Me oyes? ¿Me oyes bien? Can you hear me well? When do we use... ¿Hueles algo? Can you smell something strange? Or in most cases, we use can. Okay? All right. Are you ready to start? Are you ready? This is not easy. This is book... Let's see. Book 7. This is a book for the super intelligent. Now, if you consider yourself a member of the super intelligent club, then I think you'll enjoy this. If you haven't qualified yet, to qualify for doesn't mean calificarse para, okay? To qualify for means reunir las condiciones adecuadas para hacer algo. Okay, do you qualify for... If you don't qualify for the Super Intelligent Club, I still think, aquí no es todavía, aún así, I still think you can benefit from this list. So, listen. Hay algo suelto en el sobre. You know, they give me an envelope. There's something loose in the envelope. Loose. Something loose. It's moving. Maybe it's a coin. Maybe it's a small piece of cardboard. I don't know. But there's something loose in the envelope. Envelope means sobre, un sobre. Okay? Most envelopes, you don't need to lick to close. Okay? To seal the envelope or close the envelope. Seal is escrito seal, como foca. Like a sea lion with no ears, no external ears is a seal. A sea lion is a seal with external ears, and a seal is a sea lion with internal ears. So, I'm getting off on, to seal an envelope, you need to lick it or pull off a tab or a strip, una tira, and then press to close the envelope. And then if you shake the envelope and you hear something, it means there's something loose in the envelope, okay, loose. Envelope, envelope. There are two pronunciations. Me personally, I think I say envelope. But many people, maybe the majority of the people say envelope. I can't send a letter without an envelope. I can't send a letter without an envelope. You decide which pronunciation you prefer, and use it. Okay. But there's something loose. Loose is suelto. Se ha soltado el perro está suelto. The dog is loose. L-O-O-S-E. 2 O's in the middle. And listen to the pronunciation of the S. El perro está suelto. The dog is loose. Now, perder is lose. Lose. Don't lose the envelope. Lose. And the spelling is different. L-O-S-E. 1 O. So don't confuse these things. Hay algo suelto en el sobre. There's something loose in the envelope. El tornillo está demasiado flojo. The screw is too loose. So suelto and flojo both mean loose in English. Loose. The screw, but this is a screwdriver. Let's pretend. Hagamos como si fuera un destornillador. En inglés se dice pretender. Pretender es hacer creer, fingir. Let's pretend this isn't a pen. Let's pretend it's a screwdriver, okay? Now, screwdriver is what you call destornillador. Strange word. I prefer the English. Conductor de tornillos. Screwdriver, okay? And you say an unscrewer. Come on, you guys. Screwdrivers are used more for screwing in than for screwing out, okay? So, un destornillador, okay, is a screwdriver. And you use a screwdriver to screw in screws or to loosen screws, the opposite, in order to take the screw out. Pronunciation, screw, screw. Quitas la S. Al principio, ¿qué tenemos? Crew. Tripulación de barco. Crew. Tripulación de avión. Crew. All right. La EW en inglés normalmente es U. Crew. Screw. Jerry Lewis. Lewis. In Spanish people say Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis. Jerry, más che, Jerry Lewis. Okay? Screw. Now, there are 3 possibilities concerning a screw. The screw can be too loose. It's loose. It can be too tight. It's impossible to remove the screw. Or it can be just right. Perfect. Now, if we want, let's say, to connect 2 surfaces by means of a screw, first we need to drill, double L, drill a hole. You can use a manual drill, or you can use an automatic, and you can drill a hole. Okay? Then you put you screw in the screw using a screwdriver, and on the back you have a washer and a nut. Okay? The washer, strange word, washer doesn't, in this case, doesn't mean a washing machine, although it can be a washer. It means an arandela. It looks like a metallic donut, flat. Okay? It's a washer. And under the washer you have a nut. A nut has many meanings in English too. Nut is a tuerca. Okay, but nut is also the family of nuts. For example, nuez is walnut. Cacahuete, peanut. Okay? Cashew nut. It's the family of nuts. And nut also means a crazy person. He's a nut. For example, there was a movie called El Profesor Chiflado with, I can't remember the name of the actor, but it's the Nutty Professor, I think. Is that right? Is that the Nutty Professor? And what's the name of the movie? Do you remember the name of the movie? I don't remember the name, or the actor. Eddie Murphy. You see, I have helpers here. Eddie Murphy was the Nutty Professor. It's crazy. Nut is a crazy person. He's a nut. But it's a sympathetic, it's an affectionate way of calling a person crazy. You're a nut. Don't be a nut. You're nutty. It's more or less an affectionate way of calling somebody demented and mad and crazy. Okay, but el tornillo está demasiado flojo. The screw is too loose. So, if you have a problem in which the screw is too loose, the solution is very, very clear. You simply need to tighten it. which you need to put the screwdriver into the screw's head, which has a notch or a ranura. How do we say that? A slot or a notch. And you put it in and you turn clockwise. En el sentido de las agujas del reloj. You turn it clockwise and it gets tighter. Now, if under the nut is loose too, you can turn the screw forever and you never tighten it. So you need to have a wrench, okay, that you fit onto the nut to immobilize the nut. And then you can turn the screw and you can tighten the screw. Loose, flojo. Tight, apretado o prieto. Tight. Okay? Aflojar, to loosen. Añado una N o EN al final. Y apretar is to tighten. So, if a screw is too loose, you need to tighten it. If a screw is too tight, you need to loosen it. Okay? Now, imagínense. Imagine. Nada más que imagine. In Spanish, you make a reflexive verb. Imagínate. Imagínense. Spanish is complicated. English is so easy. Imagine that the screw is too tight. And you have a problem. You can't loosen the screw. What do? Very simple. You get oil. And you apply some oil. And then it still doesn't. What do? I'll tell you a secret that many people don't know. The best way to loosen a screw is to go to your refrigerator, open and bring out a Coca-Cola. Open the Coca-Cola can or the bottle, pour, echar. P-O-U-R, pour, means verter o echar. Pour some Coca-Cola on it and magic. It's very easy to loosen the screw, okay? So, el tornillo está demasiado flojo. The screw is too loose. Also, we can say, Pepe has a loose screw. That means he's a little crazy. Pepe has a loose screw. Literally, Pepe tiene un tornillo flojo. In Spanish, usually you say, a Pepe le falta un tornillo. He's missing a screw. Le falta un tornillo. He's missing a screw. Upstairs. Arriba. Escaleras arriba en el coco. He's missing a screw. Is what you say in Spanish. And it sounds okay in English. If you say Pepe's missing a screw, we understand. But we often say Pepe has a loose screw. In Spanish, he's missing a screw. In English, no. All our screws are there, but one of them is loose. Do you understand? And you need to tighten it again so they function right. Okay? With my wife, sometimes I need to tighten the screws. But my wife has a compartment in her back I can open up and manipulate the fuses, the fusibles and things, and she starts working perfectly and says, darling, I love you. Would you like a whiskey? Would you like me to bring you your favorite bata, your favorite robe? And that's when my wife is functioning properly. If she doesn't, sometimes I need to check the fuse box, the caja de fusibles, and sometimes I need to tighten a few screws, okay? Screw. Pronunciation, screw. Please remember this. Crew. All right? Brew, which is for making beer or coffee, the brew. Brew. Blew, the past tense of to blow. Every day, I blow dandelions, diente león, into the air. Yesterday I blew, not blew, okay? Not screw, ni Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis blew a screw, sopló un tornillo al aire. Yesterday, Jerry Lewis blew a screw in front of the ship crew. Okay? Isn't English interesting? Number 3. Solo he llegado al número 3 y ya llevamos 12 minutos. Okay. Es un lugar muy solitario. It's a very lonely place. Lonely. Only the lonely. Who wrote that song? Who performed that song? Do you remember the song? Only the lonely, da 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 dee doo wah. That was written by the same man who wrote Pretty Woman. And I can't remember his name. What was the name of the man who wrote Pretty Woman? Okay, Roy Orbison. Okay, he wrote Pretty Woman. And he also wrote Only the Lonely. Lonely is solitario. Okay, and Roy Orbison wrote that song in California. And he got in his car and he drove to Memphis, Tennessee, which is 4 days. Okay, 4 days driving his car, because he wanted to convince Elvis Presley to record the song, to perform the song. Not Roy Orbison, because Elvis has a much better voice, or a much more popular voice at that time than Roy Orbison. And he stopped in Memphis. He visited Elvis. They knew each other. Se conocían. They knew each other. But Elvis Presley was not interested in the song. So Roy Orbison continued driving to Nashville, the capital of country music. And in Nashville, he recorded the song without any preparation. Only the Lonely. And it became a hit. And it reached #1 on the charts in 1961, I think. Later, he wrote Pretty Woman and became even more famous. But Only the Lonely was one of his first famous hits that reached #1 on the chart. Okay, but here we're saying lonely. Es un lugar muy solitario. It's a very lonely place. It's nice, but it's a bit lonely. Now, we have 2 words for solitario in English, or soledad. Solitude and loneliness. Solitude and loneliness. And they are very different, because solitude is not necessarily negative. Some people prefer solitude. Some people like to be alone. And so they seek solitude. They look for solitude. But nobody looks for loneliness. Nobody wants to be lonely or to feel lonely. It's psychologically negative to feel lonely. Okay? Un lugar muy solitario, sí se dice lonely. It's a lonely place. There's a very famous novel by García Márquez, the Colombian novelist. And that it's one of the most famous novels of the 20th century in the world, really. You know, García Márquez won the Nobel Prize for Literature, probably because of this book more than any other. And it's called in Spanish, Cien Años de Soledad. I'm sure you know it, or have heard of it at least. I'm sure you know it, or have heard of it. Okay? To hear of. Saber de él. Haber oído hablar de ello. I'm sure you know it or have heard of it, and the title in Spanish is Cien Años de Soledad. The translation into English for the English edition is 100 Years of Solitude. Solitude, escrito. 100 Years of Solitude, and I don't agree with that translation. I don't agree. Because solitude is not necessarily negative. And if you read the book, you understand that family, it's a saga covering several generations of a family on the northern coast of Colombia. And you reach the conclusion that this family has a problem of communication. And so they are all lonely, in essence. So probably the best translation for Cien Años de Soledad should have been 100 Years of Loneliness, not solitude. Okay, es un lugar muy solitario, a very lonely place. I like solitude, but I don't like loneliness. There was a song by another singer, Neil Diamond, Solitary Man. It's a song about a man who preferred to be alone. Okay? Sometimes in Spanish you say, más vale solo que mal acompañado. It's better to be alone than to be poorly accompanied. I don't think we have a similar expression. But the first time I met my wife, it was at a Christmas party. I remember in the bar, a big coffee shop bar in a big hotel in this city. And we were talking, and she said, well, what are you planning to do for Christmas? And I said, well, I'm planning to do nothing, to stay here. I said, but do you live alone? I said, yes, I live alone. And don't you feel sad at Christmas time, far from your home? I said, no, I feel fine. And I said to her in Spanish, más vale solo que mal acompañado. And it made a strong impact on her. She still reminds me of that. But it was a joke. I was smiling and saying that. But she never forgot that. Which is, it's better to be lonely than to be with people you don't like. Okay? But with my wife, no, I liked her. Okay? It's time for me to say goodbye. All good things must come to an end. Parting is such sweet sorrow, as Juliet said to Romeo. But I promise I'll be back another day. Bicho malo nunca muere. A bad bug never dies. So I'll be back. So, colorín colorado, this program has acabado. Take care.